Hi guys, welcome to the first of our new podcasts. Each one that we do, we're hoping to get exciting, interesting people to come and talk to us about some of the things that they've done, and probably specifically more related to how they've used their physical or mental fitness to achieve something that most people would see as being pretty extraordinary, even if they don't themselves. The first one that we're going to speak to, or that we spoke to today, was one of our members, Cazz Lander. I've known Cazz personally for 2 or 3 years. She's had some great stories of things that she's attempted and that she's done. We had a huge chat. I mean, really, really big. So we've actually broken this down a little bit. We joined the conversation after she's just talked about completing 2 100-kilometre ultra marathon distance stuff that she did, which she brushes off quite quickly in the early parts of the chat. But the bit we really wanted to get people to talk about really was where that initial 100k stuff has now gone on to lead her to. She's done some great things. We joined. It's about an hour or so left on the podcast. Have a listen. It's been great. She finished up with a couple of world records. We won't go into more detail than that, but hopefully you find it interesting. Hit us up in the comments after this if you did, and hopefully we'll see you in the next podcast.
I think the point is to challenge yourself.
Yeah,
and
that's
if you
what
know
I
you can do it. I mean, this is why. I mean, I kind of poo-poo the London Marathon, and I really shouldn't, because I don't mean it in a derogatory way. But it's like you're setting yourself a challenge that tens or hundreds of thousands of people have already done. You know you're going to do it. It doesn't take away from the experience. I'm sure it's fantastic, but as a personal challenge, that just wouldn't appeal to me at all, because you kind of know that people will do it. You know you'll get around it unless you twist a knee or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas stuff that you've chosen, there's a much, much fewer amount of people that have actually done it.
Yeah.
There's that massive thing of, I don't know if I can really get around it. So for me, that's a much more interesting challenge. So is that how you think about it when you sign up? You think, well, I don't know if I can do this. This is why I want to do it.
100%. So everything I've done since. So like things I know I can do.
Yeah.
I'm not that interested in doing. Or I'll do them, but I'll do them for fun at weekends. So if I want to do them, I won't do it as a challenge. I'll just do it as that sounds fun. I want to go and do that, and I'll do it on a weekend just for me. But anyway, big challenge I've done. It's all
100Ks down.
Yeah.
And then next it was what came after that ish? Or roughly, what was the next big one? Because people wouldn't know the big ones, let's face it. Yeah. Come on.
Off the back of that, so as part of that 12 challenges in 12 months, I'd done a swim the distance of the English Channel in the swimming pool over 12 weeks.
I can remember you doing that. Yeah.
And I decided 12 weeks was way too easy, and so I did it in a weekend. And I've always
thought you were going to say like a week or a month. I was thinking, okay.
I just thought, well, it's
just the week.
It's 21 miles, and I'd kind of worked out, and I've swum since. I'd always swum, but I'd never been part of a swim club, but I'd always just swum for fun. And I used to swim probably, when I was at uni, I'd swim 4 or 5 times a week just for fitness in the evenings. And so I knew I can get in a pool and I can lap, and I can just swim laps for hours.
But a weekend.
Yeah, and I thought, well, I'll just challenge myself and see if I can do it in a weekend. And I did it. And it was very boring, probably the most boring thing I've done. I just spent a lot of hours just swimming up and down the swimming pool, and it was very boring. But then,
what kept you going through that? Because I get like the big walks. I get when you're doing these dramatic things.
Yeah, maybe the fact that I just put it on social media that I was going to swim it, and then I thought, oh god, now I've got to do it, because if I don't do it, everyone's going to say why didn't you do it? Yeah, and it was the most boring thing I've ever done.
But how many times did you want to stop, or did you never want to stop when you were doing it?
I
think this is what people want to know.
Yeah, I wanted to stop quite a lot.
Yeah, but you think during a class, for example, I often joke that it should be the third beep. Stop on the third beep of our timers. It's not the first one.
Yeah.
But you can see people quit as soon as they hear that first beep. And the whole point about the 40 resilience stuff that we're going to try and do going forward is to get people to stop doing that. It's this. Yeah, I mean, how many laps was that? How many lengths did you sit and work?
Yeah, I can't remember now. It was a lot.
Have been, it was like thousands. So,
it was very boring.
You must have wanted to quit. I mean, I didn't want to. Look, I'll be honest with you. I didn't want to quit after the first couple of laps. I thought, no, I'll just take it off I'll just go back on my social feed and I'll delete that post. That'll be gone. Nobody will see it. Well, I didn't say that, but you obviously kept going.
Yeah, and I think that's what I learned through all of these. And it was the same with the 100Ks. Is that there's always times when you want to quit, and it is really easy to quit, and the easy thing to do is just to quit and just say, oh, I've got blisters on my feet, I can't. Yeah. And there was so many times where I'd be swimming or I'd be walking or running, and in my head I'd be coming up with all the excuses as to why I should quit at the next time I stopped.
Yeah.
And I'd think, I've lost 3 toenails. I'll just put on social media, that I've lost some toenails and it's really painful, and so I couldn't go on, and everyone will feel a bit sorry for me. And then I thought, all I'm going to do in a week's time is look back and think,
shit,
you just let yourself down. You just cheated yourself out of proving. And I think a lot of it as well as working in elite sport. So I work in elite sport with Olympic athletes who every day I sit and watch them, and they push themselves way past anything that you think is kind of humanely possible. And you watch these athletes train and you just think, actually, if they can train like that, there's no reason why everyone else can't train like that.
It's not like some sort of different species. And, they're top of the tree,
exactly.
They're still only a person.
Yeah, they're so good at what they do in their sport, but they've also trained for years and years in that sport. I guess kind of just working in that environment, you kind of become accustomed to that's the mindset that you that's the mindset that you have to go into work with when you're working with those sports, and that's the mindset that you kind of end up having for yourself as well, is that actually you can do it, or you can push yourself and see what is possible. And I think that's where I've ended up getting to with all those challenges. So I did that swim and thought, well, I did it in a pool, and the charity that organised the 12 weeks, and they actually ran one on the English Channel. I remember getting an email after I'd done it saying, did you enjoy that? Sign up to swim the actual channel. I remember at the time thinking, that is madness, absolute madness. Who swims from England to France?
Why would you choose
Why would you do that? And then I thought, actually, that sounds really cool. But I'd never swum open water at that stage. And I thought, well, I can swim in a pool. Can it be that difficult? And I read a bit more into it, and it said, the water's 12 degrees, you're not allowed to wear a wetsuit.
Because that's enough to put most people off straight away.
We make ice baths for athletes at 10, 11 degrees. So it's kind of the temperature that you're getting in an ice bath. And I thought, this sounds horrendous. And then I realised that the more horrendous something sounds, the more into it I am. Think how good it would be. I don't know why, but... And so I thought, well, I'll just go along to the kind of assessment day. And if...
see how you get on.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm never going to get picked, but I'll just go along and see what it's like and do the assessment, and then maybe the year I'll train for a year, and then maybe I'll get into it the year after.
Yeah.
So I went along for the assessment day, and then they show you all these videos of people doing it, and the day went on. I thought, oh my god, this is amazing! I definitely want to swim to France. They show you videos of people on the beach getting hypothermia, and I was thinking, oh, this is right up my street. This sounds amazing. This sounds great.
Okay.
And then I ended up did the swim test and passed the assessment day, and then ended up on a team. And then that was really the first team thing, kind of big adventure, kind of challenge thing that I've done in a few years.
Individual, wasn't it?
Yeah, and even all the athletic stuff I used to do, that was all individual, and I played hockey and netball and everything, but this was kind of the first big team thing that I'd done probably for about 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, you're counting on other people.
Yeah, suddenly, and then I thought, okay, I've got to train properly for this, because
you can't wing this one.
I can't wing this one because
other people.
Yeah, you're letting everyone else down, and everyone's training hard for it. And so over the next, I think that's when I probably started training here kind of quite seriously.
Yeah, you upped your game.
Yeah, and then and I think that was when I kind of had that first focus and thought, actually, I've got to be fit enough, because I don't want to let the rest of the
Let's get your fitness up.
Team down. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I started training for that, and then
you got that done.
We did, got that done. So we swam in June.
Yeah.
So we started training. So we were sea swimming. I think in the September, I thought I better do an open water swim to check that I actually like open water swimming. So did swimming
after you've already signed up.
After I signed up, and thought if I don't, at least I've got 5 months to kind of learn how to do it. So I did it all wetsuit, and I remember it was probably about 20 degrees in the water, and I remember being in a wetsuit and being freezing and thinking, oh god, what have I signed up for? This is going to be horrendous. And then I didn't do any cold water acclimatization because I didn't have anyone to go with, because I didn't know anyone else that open water swam, and the rest of my team didn't live anywhere near me. They were all down south, and everyone was kind of a bit all over the place. It was a bit early. So I remember I turned up to the first training session in Dover, but the charity ran, and all the teams were down there.
Yeah.
And it was 12 degrees, and it was a horrible day, and it was massive waves. And I remember they just said, right, everyone's going in to swim for 25 minutes. I remember thinking, oh my God, right, I'm actually going to freeze.
Yeah, this is proper now.
But it was just, again, it was that mental. I just thought...
Were you fearful, do you think? Was it frightening? Did that kind of give you... I mean...
No, I don't think so. I think I lack fear, which is probably a good thing for what I do. It probably makes me I probably take more risks than I should.
But you also allow yourself to try things that most people wouldn't.
Yeah. And I'm not really... I think I learned that I'm not really afraid of failing so much. I think a lot of people stop doing things because they're afraid that they might fail, they might not do it.
People's criticism, you can't do that, what are you doing that for? It's a stupid idea.
And I think when I signed up for the channel, there was people that were like, oh my God, that's cool. But the majority of people were saying to me, but you're not a swimmer.
Yeah.
And I said, oh no, I like...
Well, they use I think people use their own...
They project their fears onto you.
Yeah. So they look and think, well, I couldn't do that, so you shouldn't be able to do that. But like, you can. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's... Yeah, I've not done anything near what you've done, but I mean, I've done some things that are a bit similar, and you just think, well, why would you? And you think, well, why wouldn't you? You know,
exactly.
Life's about experiences.
Yeah. I
think it's very easy to get tied into this little bubble, and this is what Not the Comfort Zone project's all about for us, the non-profit that we're doing. It's to try and get people to just take tiny steps. I mean, all we've done really so far is the ropes course, but we've got a cold water open day that we're going to do. We're going to start tying it in with the 40 resilience classes. So we want people to start realising that they're capable of more than what they've all either self-imposed or what they've been told that they can't do.
Yeah.
And I think stuff like this is why I wanted to interview you, because you've done so many different things that are all, I mean, literally any one of those could quite happily be your... well, I did this in my life. And people would go, wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, I don't want to kind of go into, I mean, there's loads of stuff, but the biggest ones that you've done, you obviously did the Channel Swim twice now, didn't you? So you did your training for it.
Did the training, yeah. And
you did the team event.
Yeah, so I did the first one with the team that I was training with.
Yeah.
And we swam. And it was mental. You swam for an hour. There were 6 of us on the team, which is a standard channel relay swim, and every person swims for an hour. You have to stay in for the hour. If you come out before the hour, the boat gets turned around and you go back, and the whole thing's over. So there's... which is going to be it's going to be something that mentally really steals you. Yeah, exactly. And so...
I mean, there's not an option.
Yeah, and we had some the weather...
I wouldn't let you back in the boat anyway if you were
No, exactly.
I think if I'd done my 5 hours, I'm like, just staying in the water.
And and the weather got pretty horrible, and the sea state got really horrible, and about 3 or 4 other boats around us who were other teams that were swimming, all soloists swimming at the same time, they all got pulled out. And
did that make you feel better or worse when you saw that happening?
Our boat pilot didn't tell us.
Right,
so we didn't know that others...
see that was happening.
No, we didn't know, but I was swimming when...
How do you think that would have affected you if you saw it?
I think if we'd known people had got pulled out, we probably wouldn't have believed so much that we could make it to France. But we were all so convinced that we would make it to France.
It's funny though, isn't it? Because I've heard... I mean, I listen to a lot of like podcasts and something that Jason Fox said on one of his quite recently, which I've really enjoyed, which is really worth having a listen to, and that is Tales of the Wilderness one. I think he was interviewing Jay Morton, the mole guy from the Who Dares Wins programme, and they were chatting about on like selection, and they were saying that he actually used to see people when they quit as a bit like the quickening from the film The Highlander. Have you seen the Highlander films where they fight and then... But it's basically like the goodie kills the baddie, and then he gets the baddie's power. And he said that's how he used to feel when people would VW. He would get people, he'd see them quit and think, that's another one gone. And this is a positive thing for him. But other people, I think, and that you see it quite a lot on some of the shows that I've watched, once one person VWs, other people almost feel like it's okay to then VW. Yeah. And that's why I asked, how did you think it would make you feel?
And I think I had a really good team of people. Like the other 5 people that I was swimming with, I think mentally we were all very much in the same state.
Yeah.
That we all 100% believed that we were going to make it to France, and it didn't matter what happened. There was no way we weren't going to make it to France.
Yeah.
And so I think for all of us, quitting was never an option.
No.
And I think our boat pilot didn't tell us that other boats were getting pulled, and they can pull you they'll pull you if the sea state gets too dangerous, that if anything happens to you, they couldn't safely get you back in the boat.
Yeah.
So even if you're swimming fine, they can still pull your swim if the weather just changes.
Yeah.
And it was getting close to that point. But he basically said that we didn't get pulled because he said that he was so confident that he knew that none of us were even remotely thinking about quitting.
Yeah.
And I think for about 3 hours, we were a mile off the French coast. And the tide was just taking us the opposite way. We were just basically holding position for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And he said, most people would be looking at that and just saying, we're not getting no closer, this is ridiculous. And he said, you guys put your heads down, you just swam. And he said there was never anyone saying, we're not going to make it.
I think that's the massive thing, though. Do you think that's an individual thing, or do you think that was you as a team was saying, no, we keep going?
I think the team thing helped a lot because no one wanted to let anyone else down.
I was going to say, I've been in exactly that same situation.
Yeah.
I've been in on the paddle was about 80 something miles in. I've been going for about 36 hours, I think, by this point. But because I was by myself, the wind had changed direction.
Yeah.
And it was just pushing. It wasn't like enough to stop me dead, but it had brought my speed down to about 1 mile an hour, half a mile an hour. And basically every single time that I stopped to take a drink, so I took the paddle out of the water,
you'd go backwards,
it would turn the board round and I'd be facing again. And mentally that was huge. That was a massive thing for me. And there was nobody else around me. And like how you say, it's that you look at the distance left to go, it was about, I think it was probably about 5 miles of Loch Ness. And in my head, I'm calculating, thinking, I've got to hold this for at least another 5-6 hours.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I just can't do it. And yet, had I had
other people
3-4 other people there, would we have come up with a solution of how to do it? And in hindsight, I mean, there was no world record I was doing. It was literally, I could have just dropped prone onto the board and actually paddled to get myself. And that is now what we've decided to do on this next trip. If that wind hits a problem again in that place, I will lie prone on the board and I will swim paddle until we get to a point where it's more sheltered. But you don't think that. And I think having a team next to you, it gives you that strength, doesn't it? And that's why I think some of the group sessions that we do, as much as people can come individually, coming as starting to know people in the classes, you can see they're all struggling, but it keeps you going. I think that's a huge thing in comparison to training by yourself.
Yeah, so, I do think the channel swim was actually a real turning point for me as well, because up until that point, everything I'd done had always been individual.
Yeah.
And that was through choice. And I think my mindset had always been that if I was going to do 100K, I wanted to do it. And if I wasn't going to succeed, I wanted it to be because I wasn't...
Yeah.
It was my fault that I hadn't succeeded. Either I hadn't trained hard enough or I injured myself. I didn't want to do 100K and then not get to the end because someone else I was with didn't do it and therefore I didn't finish it. And so that was kind of a choice that I'd always made, rightly or wrongly. But actually doing the channel swim as a team, that kind of changed my whole mindset. And I suddenly thought, actually...
This is a strong thing.
This is a really strong thing to be in a team and I didn't have it, and I never thought once, actually, I think this person might let the team down, and it was always, if someone was struggling, the team would kind of go around that person and make sure that person got to where they needed to get to, or
just that
whatever. And
push,
it just changed that mindset. Yeah. And and I think the channel swim, was probably the big game changer for me.
Because I wasn't properly outside of most people.
Yeah, and it was, and I wasn't. I mean, I've always swum. I wasn't one of those people that hadn't swum before, and I didn't do some amazing kind of learn to swim and then swim the channel. I'd always been an all right swimmer, but I'd never been part of the club.
And even so, that's still. I mean, like I said, there's a huge thing being a swimmer.
Yeah.
And then there's an entirely different animal to go and actually swim in an open sea.
Yeah, and I think that's what changed my mindset.
I've only been open water kind of unintentionally. As I fell off the board a couple of times outside Oban, and in the harbour, I can remember very, very vividly. You're in the water, the board is obviously next to you, but I'm loaded down, I'm fully clothed, the board is loaded down. I'm looking over to my left, and I can see the ferry, going out to the Isle of Skye, and I'm thinking, what the hell am I doing in this open? And the current and everything about it is very. I think it exposes you, doesn't it? I think straight away it's like, wow. This is not my comfort zone anymore. No,
and you get to a point as well where you either...
It's not fear of
you either
life,
have to panic, or you have to keep yourself calm. And I think that was the point. The channel swim was definitely the point where I realised that it didn't really matter how fit I was.
Yeah.
I just had to be fit enough to be able to complete the challenge.
Yeah.
And I think before I'd started the swim, the fitness was the bit that I'd been panicking about. And I'd been training hard, and I was always worried, I'm not going to be fit enough, I'm not going to be the fastest. There were swimmers in my team who were much faster swimmers. They could swim a mile kind of 2-3 minutes faster than I could swim a mile. And I think during the swim I actually realised that it wasn't, as long as you were capable of swimming a mile within a certain, we kind of had a time frame that they said, you've got to be able to comfortably swim at this pace to be able to if the tide and current is strong enough, as long as you can swim at this speed, you're going to be still making forward progress. And everyone on my team could swim comfortably at that speed. But I realised it didn't matter if I could swim a mile in 30 minutes or 25 minutes. Actually, it was that mental side of things. It was the mentality of when you were 50 minutes into your swim in 12-degree water and you couldn't feel your hands, that actually you knew you only had 10 more minutes and it didn't matter you couldn't feel your hands.
Rather
because
than going into a panic.
Rather than panicking and thinking, I'm going to get hypothermia, I've got to get out. And it was that mental resilience that I think that was the big switch then, that I suddenly realised that before that stage, my focus had always been on I've got to be as fit as I can possibly be, and if I'm not the fittest in the team, then I'm going to be letting people down. And I realised actually probably my biggest strength I had was that mentally I could push through pretty much everything. And
that's what then takes us on. I want to fast forward on a little bit now to the next bit. I mean, I'll come back and chat to you all day about this, but I know some people are like, well, next bit. So, I mean, your mental resilience pushed you through that part. You completed it. Woohoo, brilliant. That's that ticked off.
Yeah.
Now, do I remember rightly, did you then get a message later on that somebody had to drop out of their swim team?
Yeah, so it was the same charity.
Same charity.
Hi,
Cazz. Did you want another go?
yeah, one of the teams had lost a swimmer.
Yeah.
Had dropped out. And so because I'd already swum, the guy who was running the event just called me up and said, this team's going in 2 or 3 weeks. We need someone else to swim. Do you want to come back and swim? And so I thought, I'm never going to get the opportunity to go and swim the channel again the second time.
No.
Yeah, so I went back and it was a completely different experience. It was the calmest I've ever seen, probably the channel.
Yeah.
There was barely any tide that day. We just happened to be swimming on a day where the tide was...
And did that change your mindset when you saw it? Did you think, it's a piss now, it's a bit easy?
Yeah, it was probably one of the most enjoyable things I've done. I had because I knew I'd made it before and the conditions were so perfect. I had no...
It's that adversity, you've already faced it.
Yeah, I had no stress. I mean, the first one took us just over 16 hours, I think it took us to swim. And the second one, I think we did it in 10 or 11 hours. It was the fastest. We were the fastest team of the year of everyone that swam the channel.
Okay.
Purely down, I mean, we had a good team. Everyone was a good swimmer in the team, but it was purely down to conditions. And I think that also made me realise as well that you can do an event like that and you can do it on 2 different days and you can be the fittest person and the most mentally tough person, but so much of it comes down to the environmental conditions that get through.
It's got elements of luck to it.
Yeah, so it is complete luck. So, but I think that's what I like about those challenges as well, is that it's not a challenge. You're not. There's so much. No. There's like things that you can control, and there's the things that you can't control, and you have to get yourself mentally into a place where you're 100% okay that you can't control everything.
Yeah.
And I think if you try and control everything, that's when things start to go wrong, and you have to be able to say, actually, I can't control that, and I can't control that, and that's fine. Like whatever that. I'll adapt to whatever it throws, but I can adapt this. I can control this, and I can adapt to those situations, and that's where
it's like that
it's so it's just mentally.
Life's like a deck of cards, isn't it?
Yeah.
In game of poker, you can't control what you dealt, but you can control how you play the game.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing I've learned probably from my second paddle trip was I needed to be better at that.
Yeah.
And just accept that there is a way of doing this, but it's not the way that I pushed and I should have sort of sat back, took a little rest and thought, right, okay, get some food on, get some drink on, have a think about how we're going to do it, not, well, I just can't do it. And that's the biggest thing I've learned. And people say, I've had people say, we're not training as much this time. And I'm like, well, I don't actually need to. I'm physically fit enough. I was physically fit enough before.
Yeah.
I just wasn't probably mentally fit enough. And I didn't have enough about the team around me. I think that's why we're doing it as a pair. Or, I know that you said that you may come depending on what the commitments you've got. But okay. So 2 swims down, a couple of ultras done. Normally enough for most people.
Yeah.
Not for Cazz. What does Cazz then decide to do off the back of that? Well, not off the back of it, but when do you then suddenly decide of the big one, the one that the podcast is kind of building into, if you like?
Yeah, so I'd had a friend who had rowed the Pacific Ocean a few years before. I followed her journey, and at the time I remember thinking, she's an absolute nutcase. Why would anyone do this? And then I think as I started doing, as I did the swims, my mindset changed, and I kind of realised that I'd look at those kind of ocean row challenges before and think, well, that's amazing, but I'm not that. But I don't.
Because it's a long way away from what you've ever done, isn't it?
So far out of the comfort zone, and you look at it and you think, wow, there's people amazing who do those. And then I guess my mindset kind of changed, and I realised actually they're all just ordinary people
that have built up to
that have just built up to it, and actually anyone can do it with the right mindset.
It's kind of why I wanted us to talk a lot about the stuff that you've done up to this next point, because I think it would be very easy for you just to come in, bang, quick 10-15 minute chat about this next part, and people think, well, I can't do that. But we've given quite a lot of your background.
Yeah.
And there's still been pretty hardcore things, but you can see this progression.
Yeah.
And that's progression, isn't it?
4 years ago, I'd never run a 5K.
Yeah.
And I kind of look back where I've gone.
It's a bit like weight loss, it's a bit like anything. It's small steps, isn't it? And then you imagine you start to take on bigger challenges. So you've seen this girl row, you thought, not a chance, I can't do that.
No, and then...
Drunk, I believe, was mentioned to me at some point.
Yeah, and then I just remember having a few drinks with some friends, and everyone said, I find when you start doing these kind of challenges, you finish one, and straight away everyone starts saying to you, oh, what are you going to do next? And everyone expects you to do something else.
Yeah.
And I remember I think I was feeling a bit of pressure and thinking, oh, God, now I've just done these swims. And everyone just kept saying to me, what's next? And I was thinking, oh my God, I'm now, there was a bit of peer pressure. I was thinking, okay, well, what am I going to do next? And I think I'd realised that I love training, probably too much. I love training too much. And there's probably a few times where I've come in and you've told me to kind of go home because I'd overtrain and I do just love training, but I realised that I have to train for a purpose.
Yeah.
And so I kind of thought, okay, now I don't have anything to train for, so what am I going to do? And I remember saying to someone, I really want to row an ocean. I remember them just laughing and saying, oh yeah, sure. And I remember saying, no, I really do. I really think I want to do this. And then, complete fate, about 3 weeks later, I think I told maybe about 2 people, and I thought, I'm not going to tell anyone because this is a stupid idea. And it's never going to happen. And it costs loads of money, and I don't know how I'd ever afford it.
Let's just give people an idea roughly on that straight away.
So the cost of rowing an ocean is
roughly,
somewhere between £40,000 and £60,000.
Okay, so the only reason I wanted to say that now is so that people kind of go, okay, I need to listen in on how that happened, rather than yes, I'm motivated, I'm going to go get a little boat and 40 grand, okay, and, carry on. So obviously we're thinking all these reasons why you couldn't do it. Yeah,
and I thought I'm not going to tell anyone, but then I told kind of 2 people, which is the worst thing you can do. And as soon as you start telling people, I find it then becomes more of a reality,
pressure, isn't it?
And as I kind of got, and I think that's probably the hardest thing though, is to say to someone, no, I'm actually really serious about doing this. I think I really want to do it.
Because they think you're insane.
Yeah, they do.
I can say I've not done anything close to what you've been doing, but even just the things I've done, and you get people look at you as if to say, why?
No, well, exactly. And and it was more insane because I'd never even been in a rowing boat. So I'd done loads of water sports. So, I'm a kayak, canoe, sailing, windsurf instructor.
I remember you once saying to me, this is why it's funny for me, I hate rowing. I'm pretty sure on the rowing machine you've turned to me so many times and gone, I hate rowing. And I'm like, but you're going to row an ocean, Cazz. This is kind of important,
Yeah. And and so about 3 weeks after I'd told 2 people that I was going to row an ocean, I saw an advert. There was a girl advertising on an adventure website online for crewmates for a Pacific row. And at that point, there's a big Atlantic race that I knew of. I didn't know there was one in the Pacific. I just thought, this is fate. This is amazing. So I thought, I'm just going to email her, thinking nothing of it. Met up with her, ended up joining her crew. And then I was like, this is actually going to happen. I had no idea how I was going to finance it or anything, but I thought, right, okay, I've done the hardest part.
Jumped straight in.
So I just jumped, And then actually, over the coming months, it all went horrendously wrong, and we ended up just dynamics. The most important thing around, if you're going to go as a team, we were going to go as 4 girls, and the aim was to beat the current world record, which stood at 52 days for a team of 4, and that was the sole purpose of this entire row.
So that's 52 days to get across.
52, so the current world record for a team of 4 girls was 52 days, and that was the sole focus of what this team was going to do, what this crew was going to do.
Yeah.
And things just ended up, personality-wise, things just didn't quite work, and
it's going to be a huge
focus. And things just didn't quite feel right. So about 3 months into it, we ended up splitting, and So we were a crew of 4, and 2 of us went off one way, and the other 2 went the other way. So then we were kind of 6 months out of the race, and neither of us had crews, but we just knew it wasn't going to work personality-wise. And we discussed it, and I knew from the channel that having a team and a good team was the most important thing that was going to happen. And I wanted to have a good time, and we were already arguing about things. I just thought it's not going to work. So 6 months out, I didn't have a crew.
Did you have a boat by this point?
Yeah, I had a boat. Okay. So money had gone into it. So I had a boat, and I needed 3 more. Well, the other person that was in my team.
I mean, obviously this is a personal thing for you, but I mean, were you putting a lot of this money, or were you
I self-financed the majority of it myself. So I used the majority. I had some savings.
Yeah.
We self-financed it.
Which is a ballsy thing to do.
Yeah, it was a massive risk. Most ocean rows you would take 2.5 years, 2 to 3 years probably, from deciding you're going to do it to getting to the start line.
Because of the sponsorship.
And it's like the hardest part of an ocean row, everyone always says, is to get to the start line.
Well,
and we have this idea of doing it.
Everest is quoted now as it's, not taking away how physically hard Everest is, but I mean, so much of Everest now and anything that's big is down to, I think if you can afford it, you can get to the start.
Exactly.
Whether or not you can complete it is different. But, for most people, the idea of doing something like Everest climb is they start to look at the costs involved, and it's just, I can't even do that part. So you'd have had the same with the boat.
Yeah, so we had the same. I was in a fortunate position that I had some savings that I knew that I could spend if I needed to. And this row basically took over my life, and it got to the point in my life where it was all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so
I remember it literally consumed.
Yeah, it did. It consumed. I mean, I was working full time, and then I'd come back home from work, and I'd train before work, I'd train after work, and then I'd be up until kind of 2-3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Doing all the logistics of trying to sort the boat and try and get sponsorship. And most people would take 2 to 3 years, but just because the way it worked out, because I joined, and it was just because I joined this crew and then it all gone wrong kind of 6 months out.
Yeah.
The sensible option would have been to say, right, let's push it back. There's another race in 2 years' time in 2020. Let's do the 2020 race. It gives us plenty more time.
Yeah.
But it consumed me so much, and I wanted to do it so much. I just thought, I've got some savings here. I'll put those into it. If I can get to the start line in 6 months, I'm going to. And I also think I'm just quite a stubborn person anyway.
You've got to be with this.
Yeah, and everyone was saying
this.
to me, I mean, friends, family, everyone was saying to me, you're an idiot. You're never going to get there. Stop it. You're wasting your money.
Supportive friends.
No, and everyone was worried. And I think it was one of those things. You say to friends and family, I'm going to row 2,500 miles across the Pacific, and everyone just projects their fears onto you. Yeah. And so everyone was. For most people, they look at it and they think, "What you're going to go on?" This boat it's a 22-foot boat. It's got a 2 metre by 1 metre cabin. They capsize frequently. I mean, you look at the boat.
It's not
and you
a
just
lot
think,
about it, isn't it?
No, you just think this is ridiculous.
Months at least. It's like there's not a lot that would sell it to me. I'll be honest with you.
No,
it's like
exactly.
Over and over and over again. So I can see why they would be that way. I think that's quite a normal response. But like I say, they've not done anything that's similar, taking you to this point in your life.
But actually, in hindsight, it was probably the best thing that could have happened, because it made me so determined to prove everyone wrong.
Yeah.
And so I just remember and honestly, anything that could have gone wrong getting to the start line went wrong. So 6 months out, there was only 2 of us in the crew. My other crewmate then became ill and wasn't fit enough, like medically, she wasn't allowed to row. So then 6 months out, I was in a boat by myself, and I thought, I just thought, if anything else can go wrong. I remember I just didn't tell anyone, because I thought, this is terrible. Like everyone thinks I'm rowing the Pacific in 6 months' time. I've got no crewmates. I don't know what I'm going to do. So I was just.
What did you do?
I just kind of put out adverts on like adventure groups on Facebook and internet, and within about 2 days, I had maybe 60 people email me saying they wanted to row. And I thought, there's people out there that want to do this.
Well, just pause you on that second, because obviously there might be people listening that think, I quite fancy something, perhaps not as big as this.
Yeah.
But those adventure websites, do they have things on that are small scale? And
everything. There's
can you think of a couple? I don't mean the actual addresses, but can you think of a couple of the name of the ones that?
Yeah. So there's Facebook groups. There's Adventure Queens, which is a female kind of UK-based adventure group, and that ranges from people doing kind of day walks or overnight camps. and then people advertising there, seeing a lot of crewmates for
big
things.
Well. Okay.
There's a website called Explorers Connect, which is actually where I saw the initial advert, and that's where people who are doing any kind of adventure will advertise in there. So there's adventures on. There's people that are basically just say, I'm doing this 3-month walk across America or whatever, and I want someone else to do it with me.
That's fantastic that these things are. I think
and they're out there, and
people don't know are out there.
No,
I mean, I genuinely didn't. I mean, I suppose I knew that there must be something.
Yeah.
But I mean, you wouldn't imagine that they were as good as that. I mean, I fancy a 3-month trip across America. That would really appeal to me.
And there's people doing, and this is what I've kind of realised as I've started doing these things, is that there are so many people, just everyday people, that aren't athletes. They don't do this thing as a career, but there's so many people who do so many amazing.
So you don't. I mean, I think in this day and age, you don't have as many excuses as to why you can't do something, do you? It's a case of. I think so much of it, and again, this just relates to fitness and weight loss and whatever. It's down to you to decide to do something, isn't it? It's to get the web browser out, have a look, or it's to lace up your trainers and start going out and a run, or you've got to do it yourself.
And you've got to want to do it as well. I think that's what.
I'd love someone listening to this to start to log on to something like that now and just think, I mean, I've got no idea who's even going to be listening to this, if anybody at all. But I mean, it's more that thing that, I mean, I suppose this is not the comfort zone project thing we're trying to do, is get people just to think, you know what, this is not me, but I'm going to try and experience life a bit more. I mean, you can't
I've got a friend who, she used to train here. She did the 12, Gemma, who did the 12-week programme.
Yeah.
I taught her, she couldn't swim. I taught her to swim last year.
And then she went on and did.
She swam the Solent this summer, and she's now swimming the Channel next year.
Yeah, and this is it. It's small steps.
And it's small steps that she's
so carry on, right. So look, you've done that. You've now advertised. You've got over 60 people now applied back.
Yeah, and so I then just thought, I thought, there is actually other mad people out there as well. And so then I just went through and just spoke to loads of people, and it's you very, very quickly when you speak to people on Skype and just talk to them, I realised within about 5 or 10 minutes I could very quickly narrow down the people that I thought... You
were a fan of them, really.
Yeah, that I thought, I like you, I could get on with you, and you're coming from the right thing. And so within maybe 3 weeks, I was back up to a crew of 4.
Yeah. And
I thought, perfect, this is great. We're 5 months out, we've got a crew of 4. Obviously, everything then went wrong again, and we ended up down to a crew of 2. We ended up actually removing 2 of the crew members from our crew because personality-wise and for a number of reasons, we just said this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
And it was quite a big decision for us because we were basically kicking them out of the crew and saying, we don't want you on the boat. We're not happy with the fit of this team, and we don't think it's going to be a positive experience for any of us. And so,
it's got to be important. I mean, it's a massive thing. You're not just going out for a weekend, though. I mean, you're going to be living with these strangers.
Yeah, exactly, in a very small space.
And like you say, 2 metre by a metre is not... I don't even know how you could live in it. I genuinely, I mean, that would drive me insane.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I know you're not the tallest person in the Cazz, but I mean, that's still a very small box, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you kicked them out, 2 people.
Yeah, so we were down to 2. And then the race director actually called us up and said, look, have you considered going as a 3? No one's ever gone as a 3 before, was specific. He said, so you'd be setting a new world record. He said, no male team has done it at 3, no female team has done it at 3. He said, it's going to be harder because you're going to have to... So the normal pattern of rowing in a 4 is you would row 2 hours on, 2 hours off.
Yeah.
24 hours a day, but you would row in a pair. So you'd always be rowing with someone else.
Let that sink in with someone. 2 hours on, 2 hours off, 24 hours a day. For roughly how many days were you prepping yourself for this?
60 days.
So 60 days.
So 2 months, yeah.
No days off.
No days off.
2 hours on, 2 hours off. Let's just let that sink in. Because when you first told me that, I think I just blinked to say... I mean, I remember you telling me and thinking, she can't do this. This is somebody I would say I'm quite open-minded with people that want to do these things. But to sit there, and I projected my thing of I couldn't do that into your situation. And that must have happened a lot. A lot of people saying...
Yeah. Everyone said to us, you're not going to...
You can't physically
And especially because we weren't rowers. Everyone had this idea that we had to be really... And it was actually that was actually the reason that I separated from the initial crew that I joined, because... 2 of them were flat water rowers.
Yeah. But it's nothing that's...
No, and they had decided that the most important factor was that they wanted really good rowers on their boat because that was going to make them fast. And we'd spoken to a lot of people that had rowed oceans before, and everyone had said to us, you don't need to be a good rower. They said, it's not it doesn't matter. As long as you can...
You're not getting
as
big
long as you've got
speeds.
good technique, like reasonable technique, so you don't injure yourself. You don't need to be a really, really good rower. You can just... you'll get through just knowing the basics.
Yeah.
But it's a mental game. And everyone said to us, you're going to row and it'll be 80% mental and 20% physical. And I think at the time I kind of laughed and thought, oh yeah, sure. It's a massively physical challenge. You've got to row for 2 months and do this. But they were completely right. It's a completely completely mental challenge. And I think that was what helped. I mean, 6 weeks out, we were a pair.
Yeah.
And the race director said to us, he said to us, you can go as a pair. He said, but no one's ever gone as a 3. And our boat was designed for 4 people, which is why we didn't really want to go as a pair, because it was just, the boat was a bit too big to row. And he said to us, but if you go as a trio, the logical way of rowing would be you row 3 hours on, 3 hours off with a rotating seat. But it means that so for 1 hour out of your 3 hours, you're going to have to row by yourself, which is a whole different ballgame mentally, because actually you're out, whilst the other 2 are sleeping, you're out on the oars by yourself in the dark.
Well, an hour doesn't sound like a lot, but anybody that's held a plank for 60 seconds knows that when you're by yourself and at the coalface, if you like, it's you by yourself while people are getting rest. That is a intimidating thing, and that's not just once every now and again. That's
so it was going to be So we knew that in that rotation we'd row an hour as a pair, an hour by yourself, and then an hour as a pair, but with the other person. So me and Megan, who was my crewmate, who's also English, we kind of discussed it and we said, well, actually, and by this stage, the world records to us weren't important. We were doing it for charity, and we'd agreed that the number one thing that we wanted to do was to get across and enjoy it and have a really good time.
That far.
And we said, world records are amazing. It would be amazing if we got a world record, but it wasn't the reason why we were signing up, and we didn't really care about how long it took us. We just wanted to have a good time. And we spoke about it, and there was an Australian girl called Eleanor who had emailed back in kind of January when we'd been a full crew. I remember when I read her email, I just thought, this girl is perfect. But at that time, we were a full crew, and then when I'd spoken to her and crew had fallen out, it wasn't really the right timings. And I thought, I'm just going to give her a call again and just see, thinking that we're 6 weeks out. No one's going to join a crew 6 weeks out.
6 weeks of prep.
And I remember calling her and saying, you probably don't even remember who I am, but we spoke a couple of months ago, and we're in a bit of trouble. We've lost a crew member. We're going to go as a 3. We need one more person. And I remember she just said, I think it was about 11 p.m. her time. She was in bed. I'd woken her up and I'd called her. And I remember she just said, yeah. She said, I'm in. I was like, what? And she said, I don't know how I'm going to do it. She said, but I'm in. She said, I'll be there. She said, I can't say no to this. This is...
Well, that's Australia.
She was Australian. So we'd never met her. We'd spoken to her on Skype and we knew that we got on. And I said to her, it's in 6 weeks. And she said, I'll call the race director tomorrow. I'll speak through the logistics of it. And she said, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'll be there. And I remember thinking, this is the kind of girl that... this is the kind of person that you want on the crew. And I thought... And from that moment on, I thought, do you know what? Everything has gone wrong that could possibly go wrong.
Yeah.
Anything else that goes wrong, I think will be fine. Because I knew I had a really good team.
Yeah.
And, so Elle joined 6 weeks before. Me and Megan flew out to California 4 weeks later.
So it was from Monterey, wasn't it?
Yeah, from Monterey.
Yeah.
We picked Elle up from the airport when she flew in from Australia. It was the first time the three of us had met. Elle had never seen the boat. So she came down to the boat yard. So we obviously had the boat in the UK.
Was she shocked? Was she like, hang on a minute. This is not what you sold me. This is not the picture you told me. Where's my bed?
Yeah. So me and Megan obviously been training in the boat in the UK.
Yeah.
So Elle rocked up and never seen the boat. And we're in the boat yard. And so we had this really bizarre kind of 2 week period before we left of where we were trying to bond as a crew and get to know each other really well, thinking, well, we're going to spend 24 hours a day for the next 2 months together. Elle was trying to get her head around everything of what was going on.
Yeah, because she's playing catch-up.
Yeah, she's playing massive catch-up and mentally understanding everything. But it was actually probably the best thing that happened because we didn't really have too much time to dwell on anything.
No.
And we were so focused on the task and what we knew we were going to do. But also, the three of us, we all had exactly the same mindset that we knew we were all fit. Megan has a background in mountaineering. She climbed a lot of mountains, does a lot of running.
Yeah.
So she was fit, but she'd never been in a rowing boat either.
Yeah.
Elle the year before, she'd solo cycled around Europe.
Okay.
She'd done a lot of solo adventure trips, but again, had never rowed. Well, she'd rowed, I think, for a year at uni, but wasn't a rower and had never done anything like this.
No.
And I'd obviously come from a bit of an adventure background as well, but none of us were rowers. none of us had ever done anything like that before.
No,
and we were the complete underdogs. I remember everyone laughing. There was other crews out there, and some of the crews had rowed the Atlantic before, and then there was the other girls' crew, and they were all like very good flat water rowers. But like, we were definitely having the best time out of anyone out there.
Did that bother you, do you think, when you speak?
No, and I think...
I don't care. But that's mindset again, isn't it? That's not letting somebody else get into your head, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was mindset, and we just kind of... I think we just kind of went under the radar a bit, and the others were all out there, you know, we're going to break these world records, and we just thought, you know, if it happens, it happens.
Yeah,
but
if
actually,
we get across, we'll
but actually we can't control so much what's going to happen. And so let's control what we can control and make sure that, you know, we're all getting on and we've got really good systems in place. If something's like someone annoys you, that you know that you get it out there straight away and tell them, and you don't let it bubble and then frictions start happening on the boat. And so we worked really hard in those 2 weeks of just making sure we had a really good environment
to
go. And we went out on our boat as much as we possibly could, so we had as much experience out in the sea. And then, it got to race day, and we just thought, oh, God, like, we are not ready. Like, I've never felt so underprepared for anything.
You can't be ready for these sort of things. No. I mean, like I say, I don't know. Do you remember my story about my first paddle with that?
Yeah.
And I think I did it. I decided that it would be a great idea that I do this, but I had an inflatable red, like, paddle still on a paddleboard. 12'6", like, you know, just like a leisure craft, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
And I thought, right, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm not going to take a support crew, I'm not going to take a van, I'm just going to shove it on my back in its rucksack, jump on a bus, then a train, all the way up to Oban, then inflate it when I get there, jump on the way I go. On the morning of the inflation, the valve wouldn't work. I was literally trying to pump air into this paddleboard. Every time I took the pump out, I'm just sitting thinking, I'm by myself, hundreds of miles away from Red, and just thinking, how? And I figured out I managed to got the valve back in there, got it inflated. But yeah, like you say, you just sit there. And I thought, I'm so underprepared for this. I mean, I'm literally about to cast off into a harbour where ferries are coming in, I mean, proper car ferries in and out. And I'm just paddling away into this, and people are, you're far today. I didn't want to say, I'm actually planning on going 101 miles non-stop. Because they thought I was mental enough just going out on this paddleboard. But they could tell I was doing something because I've got rucksacks, the board was packed with all my kit that I needed. So I don't think you can be actually ready for this.
No.
Except for in your head.
Yeah,
and I think that's the difference.
And that was where the three of us were really strong. And we'd put so much... We'd listened to a lot of people that rowed oceans before that we've spoken to, and they'd all said to us, you know, it's the same with the swim, you know, as long as you're at a certain fitness level.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, my fitness level was, I was training probably 5 or 6 days a week here.
Yeah.
I was doing some long kind of erg rows, which is why I hated rowing, because there's nothing worse than trying to do a half marathon on an erg. Which actually, in hindsight, if I did another one, I wouldn't do any. I wouldn't do any of that. I wouldn't focus so much on it. I would just get myself to a decent fitness level. I mean, my fitness level now is so much better than it was.
Yeah.
I'm leaps and I'm so much fitter than I was 3 years ago when I swam the channel.
Yeah.
I'm ridiculously more fit. But I was absolutely fine to swim the channel 3 years ago.
I think with something like what you did, you don't need to be that kind of technically fit for that thing.
No, and that's what...
fitness. It's a bit like actually with this paddle that I'm doing again. I mean, I'm not doing anywhere near the amount of training on a board that I did because I couldn't paddle a board.
Yeah.
But what
everything is a mental challenge.
Fueling myself better. So I'm going out on big day walks. That'll be some of my things that I'm doing. Heavy rucksack, Bergen on, going up over big, proper endurance type training. So that I'm used to just being on my feet for hours at a time, learning how to fuel, because that's transferable skill. You don't need to spend hours on the board because it's not a race. As in, it's not a race where I'm competing for speed. This is just as long as I can pace myself to get to the end, and that's the important. And I suppose that's how you looked at that. You wanted to break the world records, but they weren't. It wasn't at that point the driving force for what you were doing. It wasn't particularly after what was to happen.
Yeah, and then
so just settling into that. We're going to get across.
I mean, we left. The weather was terrible, and the race start got postponed by a week, about 5 or 6 days. It kept getting pushed back and back because it just wasn't safe for the boats to leave. And I remember then the race directors called us all into a room and they said, right, there is a weather window. It's 16 hours, and they said that you can get out of the bay from where we were. And they said it's going to be a horrendous first week. You're rowing straight into a storm. But if we don't leave now, it's going to be another 2.5 weeks before there's another weather window that looks appropriate. And they said all that does then is put you 3 weeks further into hurricane season when you're in the middle of the Pacific, which actually, in the grand scheme of things, is more dangerous. They said, so it's going to be a really uncomfortable first week. They said, but, we'll be in contact with you guys. If anything goes wrong, you are going to be relatively close to land. But they said, it's going to be tough and you're going to have to row harder than you've probably ever rowed before. And especially for us as a 3, because we were going to have periods where there was only one of us in the oars. We had to change our whole strategy. So rather than going 3 hours on, 3 hours off, we spent the first 3 days rowing 2 hours on, 1 hour off. So that we always had 2 of us in the oars because we had to get a difficult part to get away from land.
Power,
And it was horrendous. It was probably the worst 3 days of my life. We were sleep deprived. We all got really seasick. I mean, I'd never been seasick. I'd spent a lot of time in boats and everything. I'd never been seasick. I got really seasick. My crewmate Elle, who joined 6 weeks before, she was seasick for 3 weeks, constant. She didn't eat for 17 days, and she had the most horrendous seasickness that they've ever seen in an ocean rower. But mentally, she was so strong, and she was not going to give up. And in that first week, the other girls' crew quit, so they got rescued and they came back to land. And a team of 2 men who had rowed the Atlantic previously capsized, and one of them got hypothermia.
And did you know this? Were you being
we could hear on the radios, because you've obviously got comms, and we could hear the comms between the other boats and we could hear them being rescued, and which mentally, I think we'd always been the underdogs in the competition, and everyone expected us to be at the back because we were just 3 girls. I mean, I'm 5'2", 5'3". I'm not tall, or I don't look like a rower.
Let's face it.
No, and everyone said to us, and interestingly, the support crew had always said to us, like the race directors, they'd said to us in the outset, they said, you girls are going to have the best time out there. And they said, we know that you're going to make it to Hawaii because you've got the right mindsets and you're treating it all as you should. But everyone thought that we were going to come last.
Yeah.
Like, without a doubt, everyone thought that we were going to be the people way at the back. And I remember about day 6 or 7, we got a message from the race director in capital letters saying, bloody hell, you girls are in 2nd place. And I remember we were shocked because when you're out there, you don't have any idea where the other boats are, because everyone at home can track you, but you have no internet, so you rely on satellite phone calls, or we have a little Garmin InReach kind of messenger thing. I remember we just sat there and we just laughed and we just thought, how on earth are we in 2nd place? This is absolutely hilarious. But it was mentally that we knew that it was going to get better, and we knew that
it was massive,
and we knew that we basically had 2 options, and we spoke about it a lot in those first 3 days. And the 3 of us said, that we can either quit or we have to keep going. And we said, why would we quit? We've all put so much money into it. We'd put probably between £10,000 and £15,000 each from our own personal accounts, purely because we just didn't have enough time to get the sponsorship in the short amount of time we did it. So we had a lot riding on it. And if we quit, you don't get that money back. That money is spent and gone. So we thought, there was the financial commitment that we thought, we're not quitting because this is a lot of money to throw away to quit. But we also just thought, this is horrendous. And it was a horrendous 3 days. Like when we were all being sick in the seas, and we ended up in power anchor, so it felt like we weren't going anywhere. And
so power anchor, for those that aren't aware,
power anchor is like
it's
a big parachute that goes out behind the boat.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're in the sea's too deep to throw an actual anchor in, but it just keeps your boat relatively stationary and stops you drifting when the seas are too big or too dangerous for you to row. And so we were in the storm in the first week, and that was the hardest week of the entire row. It was the worst conditions we had in the entire row, and
nice little waves and things.
Yeah. So I think at that stage the waves were probably maybe had about 20-foot waves, and because we were close to the shore, they were there wasn't much distance in between them, so it was big waves, like frequent. The boat was getting thrown all over the place, and it was scary, and we were terrified for that first week. But we all knew that mentally we could get through it, and we knew that, and we used to say, if we get on to tomorrow's a new day, let's just get through to tomorrow. And we rode that the first 3 days, 2 hours on, 1 hour off. And then it got to a point where physically, we were getting 3 hours sleep and rowing for 16, 17 hours a day, which physically we just couldn't keep up. But we got to a point where we were far enough off the coast that then we could change back into the 3 hours on, 3 hours off.
Okay.
And we stayed in that for the rest of the 62 days.
Yeah.
And it becomes we fell into it very easily. You become very accustomed. You
accept it, perhaps.
You accept it, and you have to.
There's no alternative.
No, and this is the thing. When you're 1,000 miles from land, it becomes there is no other option. There's no boats around. If you want to get off, you have to basically radio a container ship that's coming past and say to them, we need to get rescued, which then is a whole dangerous kind of trying to get from a little 20-foot ocean rowboat into a 300-metre container ship is pretty horrendous. And that's your only option. You have to radio then and say, there is no boat that's there to pick you up and take you back to the start line. And so you're out there. So your only option is to keep rowing.
Yeah.
And if you don't row, you just I
guess in some ways that must make it easier for you because you haven't got an easy option.
You don't have an option to quit, no. And I think if we'd had a support boat that followed us the whole way across, there probably would have been times when we thought, we could just get off here, we could just jump on a support boat.
Yeah.
But we didn't, and I don't think any of us ever. I mean, there was definitely a few times where we probably said, I'd definitely get off now if I could.
Yeah.
But we had a hurricane. We got stuck in a hurricane out there. We had all kinds of things. Nearly got hit by a boat. All kinds of things went wrong out there. But we had the best time, and it took us 62 days to get to Hawaii. And
sharks.
Yeah, we saw everything. Sharks. Yeah, but that was some of the best times.
Sunsets and things.
Sunsets.
I remember you saying that to me. Sunrise.
Yeah, we've got a documentary on YouTube called Why Row an Ocean, which is probably the best. It's a half-an-hour documentary, and it's got all the footage from our row. And explains all this in way more detail, and
which is great. I got to see that before it was kind of released, and you kind of shared that with me, so to look at it. It was really. I would really encourage you guys to actually watch it because. Obviously, it's edited really well, so you want to sit through us talking about all the signs and stuff. But I think it's really, really gives you an insight into what you guys went through. I saw it; you were getting battered by the weather. Seriously.
There was times when you'd be out, we'd have 30, 40-foot waves. You'd be out on the oars by yourself.
How did that make you feel? When you were actually, you were still on the ours at this point. I imagine you're strapped to the boat. I should think.
Yeah. So at all times, we had a safety line, so we're clipped on. Thankfully, we never actually capsized. But
did you get close? Was the thing?
Yeah. We had
these waves.
We had a lot of times the boat was kind of knocked 90 degrees, and often the waves would just crash over the boat, and the power of the waves would just wash you off your seat, so you just end up kind of on the floor of the boat. And there's
ever washed off the side of the boat, or I know you were on the lines anyway. But
our lines were kind of short enough that just stop us getting washed off. Yeah, but there was times when it was scary,
especially at night.
Really scary. One day.
How did it make you feel though? I think can you remember how you felt when you were on the on that seat, paddling away in those conditions?
I loved it.
Well, actually, whilst it was happening, were you frightened? Do you think, or was it what is it that made it kind of such a big thing?
I think it becomes interesting. I think it becomes like everyday life.
Yeah.
And so you get used. 40-foot waves became the norm for us. And there was days when we'd have massive waves, and then we'd wake up and the
40 foot is bigger than a house, isn't it?
Yeah. And you're in this little boat, and you'd look up and you would just see the crest of this wave.
Twice the size, but twice the length of your boat, but upwards.
Yeah, and then you'd be on the top. You'd be on top of the wave, and then you would surf down a wave. But then some of those days became the most fun days because you'd just be surfing down these massive waves,
waves just be a rush.
Yeah, and then you get days where the sea would be completely calm. And you'd think, this is so boring, because you'd be going slow because they wouldn't have the help. And so, it became really interesting how everything
the animals and things
changed.
Out there.
Yeah, we saw sharks, whales, dolphins, turtles, everything. Yeah, it was the best thing I've done. And I was gutted when we came into Hawaii and I had to get off the boat.
You could tell that, it was really funny because you can see some of the footage in the film, can't you?
Yeah.
And I saw a bit more of that because you obviously did some live stuff to do as well. And I watched that when you came in, and you could see your faces. You were obviously smiling, but there was this huge element of, it's almost like, hang on. Yeah, and then you're suddenly back to
normality.
Yeah, actually, did you know at the time that you'd done the world records when you came in?
Yeah, so because no one had ever rowed as a 3 before, we knew that we were very fortunate in that we knew that if we made it to Hawaii, we were guaranteed world records for the first crew of 3, male or female, to row the Pacific, and then also the youngest crew of 3 to row any ocean.
How'd that make you feel?
Yeah, do you know what? Interestingly, before we left, everyone was saying, "Oh my god, if you get there, you're going to get world records." And I was like, "This is so cool." Rowing into Hawaii, I couldn't have cared less about the world records.
Okay.
And it was the same for Megan and Elle as well. For us, those have just become so insignificant, and I'm very grateful to have them. And it's going
to help you going forward.
Yeah, and it has, and it's been. I mean, I'm very grateful that I've got them, and it's opened up a lot of opportunities since for things that I've now been able to do and like things I've done since. But rowing into Hawaii, we spent 62 days on that boat. We had 2 arguments the entire time, which is incredible. And we got off that boat, and the 3 of us are still really good friends.
Yeah.
And we had the best time. And there was days, where we were really good, and days where we were struggling, and we thought, God, I can't do this anymore. This is really, really tough. We just say, it doesn't matter if it takes us an extra day. Let's just have 3 hours off.
I suppose they're the bits that you look back on, aren't they, over the, sat here, and you remember them as being tough, but they were kind of what made that trip for you.
Exactly.
I mean, I think had it been like that second channel swim where you just went out like a nice glassy ocean, it probably wouldn't have been. Because at the time you were probably shitting yourself in places, thinking, "Oh my God!"
Some of the best things now I look back on. I think.
Yeah, you look back and think.
I mean, there was a moment where we nearly got run over by a boat, and I remember at the time, the 3 of us actually had a conversation, and I remember the 3 of us all saying, like, genuinely, we might die. And it was the only time on the boat where we genuinely thought our life was at risk. And
I take it you could, it just couldn't see you.
Well, it was a fishing boat, and we couldn't get out of its way. It was still probably about 40 metre boat, and we just couldn't get hold of it on the radio, and it was on a direct collision course. And you're very limited to manoeuvrability.
It was just on autopilot, I imagine, the boat.
Yeah, and I mean, we'd got to the point where we thought it was probably an abandoned boat. And we were struggling to get out of the way of it because we were stuck in the current. It was obviously the same current that we were in.
Well, does that happen then? You just have these boats?
Yeah, because if we'd been rescued, that boat would just stay at sea and would just get caught in currents, and it would.
Well, so even something as big as that.
Yes, there's boats out there where if people got, and we just thought, and we couldn't radio them, and that was really the scariest moment for all of us. And we were all just out, and we just thought we don't know what to do. And you can't call anyone and ask. You can't call a friend.
I've got a boat
and ask what to do.
And
it got to within about 100 metres of us. And
which for anybody, right? Well, I'd like to put my point on that as well, right? I mean, if you say 100 metres, and people think, "Oh, that's fucking miles away. It's nowhere near."
When you've been watching it for 20 minutes, getting closer.
But when you're little, this thing is huge. I mean, like I say, I joked about in Open Ferry, and that ferry was going. That's a full-size car ferry, and you don't think they're going very fast when you're on them. But when you're doing them, you're doing 3-4 miles an hour, and this thing's coming past you at 20. It's like that is huge, and it could be 300-400 meters away. And it seems enormous. And I was then coming in through Loch Lillian towards like Fort William, and then I could see a boat coming out there because obviously it's a huge open water. And you're looking at it, you're thinking that's going to come pretty close to me. So if there's a paddleboard, you've got this very small amount of speed that you can use to get out of the way. So I literally turned at 90 degrees and I rode away from it. But as fast as I was paddling away, this thing was closing in on me. And you always think of it as being quite... So I kind of get that. I was nowhere near that close. I wasn't in any danger. They were obviously aware I'd got a Coast Guard radio. I could have I could have actually reached them, but they could see me anyway. But I can imagine that must have been a terrifying experience.
It was scary. And I mean, we were about 1,000 miles from land, maybe at this point. I mean, but it got within 100 metres of us, and then the crew came out on deck, and they were low on power, so they'd had all their radios and everything turned off, and they'd just seen us on their radar. And obviously, like for any boat out there, they see that it came up on their screen. They could see we were like a 6-metre ocean rowing vessel, so they'd come to see it. That's why they were on direct collision course, and they just hadn't thought to radio. They hadn't thought to radio us and just say
on purpose.
Yes, they changed course to come and see what we were, and they just hadn't thought to radio us and just say, "Oh, we've just seen you. We're just going to come past and have a chat." So we spent 20 minutes thinking this boat was going to hit us, and like we didn't know what we were going to do. And I mean, and that was the most scared. I wasn't really scared during the bad weather because it was the weather wasn't uncontrollable for us, but we could control what we could. So we knew how to be safe in bad weather.
Yeah, you can put we knew
what to do. We knew that we wouldn't row on the oars unless we kind of had this agreement that if 2 out of 3 of us were uncomfortable with the conditions to row, then we would just put out the power anchor and we wouldn't row, even if the third person was happy. So we kind of had all these agreements that we would control what we could, but that was the situation that we just couldn't control at all. No. And it was potentially like kind of like a life-threatening situation. I look back on it now and laugh about it because it was just so stupid. And you think, oh, I'm sure we would have been absolutely fine.
Yeah,
but at the time, but then these are things now that.
Yeah, that's what makes the story.
That makes it, and that's what kind of.
Has that sort of thing stopped the way you think about future ones or not?
I want to go again.
What, you want to row it again? Or something else again?
I want to row the Atlantic.
Okay, so I want to wrap this up relatively soon, because otherwise people might have tuned off. But I mean, in terms of so you got the 2 world records that opened up a lot of other things for you.
Yeah.
You're now a paddleboard like a distance racer, aren't you? Really, you do like racing for Loco Sup, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah. So off the back of the road, came back, got sponsored by paddleboard company, so Loco Surfing. Yeah. So I now race distance for them, mainly.
You did the city tours and things, don't you?
Yeah, I do kind of the shorter UK ones, but I prefer the longer, kind of 70k ultra.
Okay. And then what else has it opened up? Anything else planned that you can talk about? I know there's things that we've joked off air that we can't talk about, but...
well, I've just come back from South Africa. So I've just been in South Africa for 3 weeks on an expedition called Midgard Expedition, which is a traditional hand-built Viking boat.
Which I've seen pictures of, which looks cool.
Yeah, which is really cool.
I didn't think you had to look a big false beard on there, which would look funnier. A big helmet, that would have looked a lot better. So that's a sailing expedition being run, it's being led by a man called Björn Herdal, whose grandfather is Tor Herdal, who was sailed the Kontiki across the Pacific, which is a famous raft that went across. So he comes from a big adventuring family. That expedition has got all of its roots is around climate change and sustainability and climate parks. So there's another kind of motivation behind that expedition that's about sharing messages. Yeah. But I've just been in South Africa for 3 weeks doing boat trials. We're now shipping the boat to Norway, and then we'll sail it from Norway around the UK, then to Portugal, all around the Med, and eventually to Turkey. So it's following kind of the old Viking routes, but stopping off at sustainability touch points all around. So doing that. In terms of actual, sort of more things like the Pacific again, have you got things that you've got your eye on? To raise funds for this?
Potentially I've got 2 other females, so another crew of 3. We're talking about doing the Atlantic as a row.
I suppose it makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, if you've done one,
so
can't really need to do the other one.
Yeah, interestingly, I'd always said that I wanted to row another ocean, but solo.
Okay.
Because it'd just be a whole different challenge, a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
But actually, since I've started doing a lot more stuff as teams, I've kind of gone back into I really now enjoy doing it with other people and doing more team thing. So potentially rowing the Atlantic. I'm actually just leaving my job in elite sport to pretty much do adventure. I've got some opportunities, so I've got opportunities to come up to skipper sailboats. Yeah.
Which will pay for you to then do more training. It's an expensive thing, isn't it? I mean, let's face it, all these things are, you've got to make it your life. It's got to be your passion. You can't just put a toe in the water.
And I think that's what I think it kind of started as 4 years ago. I was just bored, sat at home thinking, I want to get better at running, and then it's kind of spiraled a bit out of control.
But that's a good thing. So for people that might want to follow you, you've obviously got Instagram, you've got Facebook, you've got quite a good following now on Instagram as well. So you're obviously building up who you are. What's your handle on that?
Cazz Lander.
Okay, so if people search Cazz Lander, they can look at some of the photos. You've got loads on there as well, haven't you? Stuff as well we can look at. Anything else you want to sort of speak about, really? I mean, in the last couple of minutes, is there anything that you want to self-promote for things in the future? I mean, have you got a website set up yet?
Yeah, I've got a website, www.cazzlander.com.
Yeah, so people can...
Yeah, it's on there, and I've got loads of blogs on there from all the Challenge 12
Which would be fantastic for people that...
Yeah, so that actually follows... Yeah, and I started writing those as I was doing them, so that kind of follows from my first 5K training.
It should be great.
I did, and then it follows through all the...
Well, when I share this podcast on our social side, I'll make sure that we include links and stuff on there as well. But I think that'll be awesome. I want to say thanks so much. I think I've kind of known you quite a long time, but there's bits that have come out in that conversation that I wasn't aware of. So thank you very much. That hour and a half has gone past quick. I imagine we'll probably edit this into 2 sections, I think. I'm in part 1 and part 2. But I'd just say thank you very much for your time.
That's right. Thank you for having me on here.
And that's it. Great. Thanks. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm kind of I could have carried on talking about this for ages. But anyway, so so thanks very much. That's episode 1 done, or episode 1 and episode 2, depending on how we end up doing it. And thanks so much for listening. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.